This is the story of a man who was told he would never, ever be able to fight again. He had been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that attacked his nerves and muscles and bones so badly that doctors said it was impossible for him to walk or even use his hands without assistance. They said if he ever did recover, he'd have to learn how to do everything all over again, including walking and talking. And they also said there was no hope for recovery, but this guy refused to give up on himself. So after months in bed, he started doing physical therapy every day. And then one day when he woke up, his fingers were moving by themselves. Then came the first steps. And finally, just 6 weeks later, this guy walked out into the octagon to face off against another fighter who had already beaten him twice before. In round 1, the other fighter immediately took him down to the mat, where he rained punches upon his head. The ref asked him if he wanted to stop fighting, but he shook his head no. His opponent continued raining blows, trying to break his spirit. But this guy wouldn't quit. Finally, the ref stopped the beating, because the other fighter couldn't continue anyway. He was too tired from punching so much. Round 2 began, and once again, the other fighter took him down. It looked like he might get knocked out here, but instead, something amazing happened. This time, as soon as he hit the ground, he grabbed hold of his opponent's arm with both arms and pulled him right back onto his own back. He got full mount position and trapped his opponent's legs between his own. Now it was the other fighter who could not escape. He rained punches upon his head until the ref stepped in to save him. Against all odds, this guy had turned things around completely. By the end of round 2, it seemed like he might actually win. As the final seconds ticked away, he landed some brutal strikes before the bell rang at the end of the round. Afterward, medics rushed into the octagon to check on the other fighter. Meanwhile, the guy who had been given no chance was sitting calmly on the stool, drinking water and smiling. When the third round began, things went back to normal again. His opponent immediately took him down. He tried to get full mount position, but this guy wasn't giving up without a fight. He grabbed onto his legs and pulled himself back onto his feet. Then he landed a brutal knee strike, followed by another kick. Now it looked like he might win the round. But when his opponent came back with punches, he couldn't defend against them anymore. Once again, the ref stepped in. Round 4 began, and guess what happened? Another takedown attempt. This guy kept trying to pull himself back up, but his opponent held him down tight. When he finally gave up fighting, his opponent went straight for his neck. He started squeezing harder and harder. At first, this guy didn't seem fazed, but slowly but surely, the pressure became unbearable. Just when it seemed like he might tap out, something incredible happened. Instead of tapping, he flipped his opponent over. Now it was his turn to squeeze. He locked his arms around his opponent's neck and squeezed tightly. Suddenly, the roles reversed completely. His opponent tapped out. The crowd erupted. Against all odds, this guy had won 4 rounds in a row against a fighter who had already beaten him twice. No matter how bad things got, no matter how impossible it seemed, he refused to give up hope. That's why he never stopped believing in himself, even when doctors told him he wouldn't ever walk again. Even when his body shut down and he thought he might die, he believed he could beat the disease. He believed he could recover. He believed he could fight again someday. And because he believed in himself, because he refused to quit, he proved everybody wrong. He showed that sometimes what seems impossible isn't impossible at all. Sometimes the greatest victories happen when nobody thinks you stand a chance. Sometimes the biggest miracles occur when you refuse to believe otherwise. Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will either. But if you keep pushing forward anyway, then maybe, just maybe, you'll prove everybody wrong. Maybe you'll become stronger than you ever imagined possible. Maybe you'll achieve more than anybody expected. Maybe you'll surprise yourself and others with your resilience. Maybe you'll inspire people everywhere to never stop believing in themselves. Maybe you'll create a miracle. Maybe you'll change somebody's mind. Maybe you'll change yours. Maybe you'll change the world. Believe in yourself.